The electrician said the lights went out because the building was old, and I nodded like that explained anything. What I didn't say was that the dark changed the room. It slowed it down. It made every sound louder. And when she leaned closer and whispered, "Good, now you can't see how much I want you," I didn't know if she meant the lights or something else entirely. I was there on a Tuesday afternoon, killing time between jobs, pretending I needed a new lamp repaired. The shop sat between a nail salon and a closed-down travel agency, the kind of place you walk past 100 times before curiosity finally wins. Inside, everything smelled faintly of dust and warm metal. Radios lined the walls. Lamps without shades waited like unfinished thoughts. She looked up from behind the counter when the bell rang. Mid-40s, maybe older, hair pulled back without trying to impress anyone. No rush in her movements. She wore glasses she didn't bother taking off when she smiled at me. "Can I help you?" she asked. I held up the lamp. The cord was frayed, barely holding on. It felt like an excuse. She took it from me carefully, like it mattered. "We'll see," she said. "It depends how attached you are." I laughed a little too fast. "Not very." She raised an eyebrow, just enough to notice. "People say that. Usually means the opposite." She set the lamp on the counter and leaned down to inspect it. I noticed the quiet confidence in the way she worked. No wasted motion. No need to fill the silence. It made me aware of how much I usually talk to cover my nerves. While she checked the wiring, the lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then the shop went dark, except for the pale daylight slipping through the front window. "Well," she said calmly. "There we go." I stood there, unsure if I should say something or move. She didn't seem bothered. She reached under the counter for a flashlight, didn't find it, sighed softly. "Power's been acting up all week," she said. "Give it a second." The quiet stretched. I could hear the hum of traffic outside, a bus passing, someone laughing down the block. Inside, it felt like we were suspended. She stepped closer, probably without thinking about it. Our arms brushed. Just skin through fabric, but it lingered. Neither of us moved away right away. When she spoke again, her voice dropped. Not dramatic, just instinctive. "Sorry," she said. "I forget how small this place feels when it's dark." "It's fine," I said, though my mouth felt dry. That's when she leaned toward me, as if sharing a secret meant for the dark alone. Her breath brushed my ear. "Good," she whispered. "Now you can't see how much I want you." The lights snapped back on a second later. She straightened immediately, already reaching for the lamp, like nothing unusual had happened. Her face was composed, almost neutral. If I hadn't been standing there, heart pounding, I might have believed I imagined it. She cleared her throat. "Cord needs replacing. Won't take long." "Okay," I said. It came out quieter than I meant. She worked while I waited, the normal sounds of the shop returning. But something had shifted. Every time she handed me a tool or brushed past me, I felt it again. That pause. That closeness. When she finally looked up and told me to come back tomorrow, her eyes held mine a beat too long. I walked out into the afternoon with a receipt in my pocket and one sentence looping in my head, replaying itself no matter how far I went. I came back the next afternoon because she told me to, and because I kept finding reasons not to be anywhere else. The shop looked the same, but she didn't. Her hair was loose this time, falling forward when she bent over the counter. She didn't look surprised to see me, just nodded, like she'd already placed me in the day. "Lamp's ready," she said, "unless you want to see what I replaced." "I wouldn't know what I was looking at," I said. She gave a small laugh. It sounded tired, like she hadn't slept enough to enjoy it. Most people don't. They just like pretending they care. She lifted the lamp and plugged it in. The light came on steady and warm. I noticed her hands as she worked. The skin around her knuckles looked dry, the nails short. Practical, not careful in the way people are when they expect to be watched. I stayed longer than necessary. Asked questions I didn't need answered. She responded politely, but there was a distance there now, like she'd put something back where it belonged and wasn't planning to reach for it again. At one point she asked if I could hold a ladder steady while she fixed a flickering fixture near the back. I nodded too quickly. Up close, I could see the faint lines at the corners of her eyes. Not in a way that made her look older. Just human. She climbed carefully, paused at the top. Don't move, she said. I won't. The ladder creaked anyway. She froze, one hand gripping the rail harder than necessary. Sorry, I said. It's fine, she said, but her voice tightened. She stayed still longer than she needed to. When she finally stepped down, she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. You okay? I asked. She waved it off. Just tired. Long week. She leaned against the counter for a second, rubbing her wrist. I didn't ask more. It felt like the kind of moment you could break by touching it. She looked at me then, really looked, like she was measuring something. You don't talk much, she said. I do. Just not always. She nodded. That's probably smart. There was a pause. Not awkward. Just quiet. Outside, rain started suddenly, loud against the front window. She glanced toward it and sighed. Great, she said. I was supposed to close early. You can wait it out, I said. I don't mind. She hesitated. Just a beat. Then she shrugged. All right. We stood there listening to the rain. She crossed her arms, then uncrossed them, like she couldn't get comfortable. When she spoke again, it was softer. Yesterday, she said, not looking at me. If I said anything strange, it's okay, I said quickly. She looked relieved, and something else flickered across her face. Regret, maybe, or relief at not having to explain. She reached for the lamp and handed it to me. Our fingers touched longer than necessary. She didn't pull away right away. Careful with it, she said. I will. She smiled then. Small. Real. And when I stepped outside into the rain, that smile stayed with me, warmer than the light I was carrying. The rain didn't stop that night. It just thinned out, like it was thinking about leaving and changed its mind. She called around 8, which surprised me. I was halfway through reheating something I wouldn't finish anyway. The back light's out again, she said. If you're still nearby. I should have said no. I heard myself say, I can come. The shop was closed when I arrived. The sign dark. Only one lamp on inside, casting a low circle of light that didn't quite reach the corners. She let me in without ceremony, stepped aside, locked the door behind me. The clicks sounded louder than it should have. I hate asking, she said. I know it's late. It's fine, I said. I meant it. I always did. The back room was colder. She stood close while I checked the fixture, close enough that I could feel the heat from her arm. I kept my eyes up, focused on the wires, the screws. Anything but how easy it would be to turn my head. You're good at this, she said. At holding things together? I smiled, then regretted it. She didn't smile back right away. Sometimes, she said. Sometimes I'm just good at pretending. That landed heavier than she probably meant it to. She turned away, busied herself straightening a shelf that didn't need it. I finished the repair too fast, like I'd missed something on purpose. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen and didn't answer. Let it ring again. And again. Then she flipped it face down. Sorry, she said. That's just noise. Do you want me to go? I asked. She shook her head. Too quickly. No. Stay. We sat at the small table near the register. She poured coffee from a pot that had been sitting too long. It tasted burnt. We drank it anyway. She told me about the shop. How her father started it. How she kept it because closing it felt like admitting something she wasn't ready to say out loud. She stopped halfway through a sentence and stared at her cup. I talk too much, she said. You don't, I said. You just don't usually finish. She laughed then, surprised. That's uncomfortably accurate. Her knee brushed mine under the table. She didn't move it away. Neither did I. The phone buzzed again. She didn't look this time. I shouldn't, she said quietly. I didn't ask what she meant. I knew. And I didn't trust my voice to respond without crossing something I couldn't uncross. The light behind us flickered once, then steadied. She looked up, then back at me. Her hand came to rest on the table between us. Close enough that my fingers tingled where they hovered, not touching. She leaned in, just slightly. Enough that I could smell the coffee on her breath, hear the shift in her breathing. Tell me to stop, she said. I opened my mouth. I don't know what I was going to say. The door rattled suddenly, someone trying the handle, calling her name from outside. She pulled back at once, stood, already moving toward the front. Tomorrow, she said over her shoulder, like it was an apology. I stayed seated, my hand still on the table, warm where hers almost was. The next time I saw her, nothing was wrong. That was the problem. The shop was open. The lights worked. She stood behind the counter like she always did, glasses on, hair pulled back again. Efficient. Contained. If I hadn't known better, I would have thought the other night belonged to someone else. She handed me change I didn't need to receive. Our fingers didn't touch. You don't have to keep coming in, she said, not unkindly. I know, I said. I stayed where I was. She looked up then. Really looked. Her mouth opened like she was about to say something practiced. It didn't come out. We stood there too long. A customer walked in, browsed, left. The bell chimed. The quiet came back heavier. I need to ask you something, she said finally. Okay. She leaned back against the counter, arms folded. Not defensive. Bracing. What do you think this is? She asked. I swallowed. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only honest one I have. She nodded once, like she expected that. Her eyes drifted to the window, the street outside moving on without us. I keep telling myself you're just being nice, she said. That you're bored. Or lonely. Or both. And I asked. And I don't believe myself anymore. The words hung there. She didn't rush to fill the space. I felt my chest tighten, the urge to step closer, to say something that would make it easier. I didn't. I'm not trying to confuse you, I said. I know, she said. Too fast. Then softer. That's what scares me. She pushed off the counter and walked toward the back, stopped halfway. Didn't turn around. I've spent years making my life very small, she said. Safe. Predictable. I don't let myself want things that don't fit. I waited. My hands were clenched at my sides. I hadn't realized until then. And then you show up, she continued. And you don't push. You don't ask for anything. You just stand there. And suddenly I can't tell if I'm holding the line or hiding behind it. She turned back to me. Her eyes were wet, but she didn't wipe them. I don't want to hurt you, she said. I know, I said again. It felt like all I was allowed. We stood close now. Not touching. The space between us felt louder than if we were. She reached out, then stopped herself. Her hand dropped back to her side. Say something, she whispered. Not pleading. Afraid. I took a breath. I don't need you to decide anything, I said. But I can't keep pretending this is nothing. Her shoulders sagged slightly, like she'd been waiting for that permission or dreading it. She nodded once. Then she said, barely audible, I think I already crossed a line. I just don't know how to live with that. She closed the shop early that day, put the sign in the window without looking at me, flipped the lock, leaned her forehead against the glass for a second like she needed the cool. There's something I didn't tell you, she said. She went to the back and came out with a small box. Not decorative, just cardboard, edges worn soft. She set it on the counter between us and didn't open it right away. I don't usually keep things, she said. But this, I couldn't throw it out. Inside was a photo. A man about my age, maybe a little older. Same dark hair. Same crooked smile I saw in the mirror every morning. The resemblance hit me before I could stop it. That's my son, she said. The word landed carefully, like she'd practiced saying it to strangers. I stayed quiet. I didn't trust my face. He died 8 years ago, she added. Car accident. On his way home from work. I nodded once. My throat burned. She watched me closely now, like she was bracing for me to pull away. I didn't. I don't think of him every day anymore, she said. I don't know if that makes me strong or awful. It makes you human, I said. She smiled faintly, then shook her head. You don't look like him exactly. It's more, the way you wait. The way you don't rush people. He did that. I understood then. Not everything, but enough. The line she was afraid of. Why she kept stepping back just as things leaned forward. I'm not him, I said gently. Not defensive. Just true. I know, she said quickly. I know that. Then quieter. That's the part that scares me. She put the photo back in the box, closed it, slid it away. Her hands trembled this time. She didn't hide it. I didn't plan this, she said. Any of it. I believe you. She exhaled slowly, like she'd been holding it for years. The shop felt smaller again. Not dark. Just intimate in a way that had weight. I don't want to use you, she said. Or confuse you. Or turn you into a memory. I stepped closer. Not touching. Just enough that she could feel me there if she wanted. I don't feel used, I said. and I'm not a replacement. She looked up at me, really looked, searching for something she was afraid to find. Her hand came up, hovered near my chest, then dropped. I don't know what this means, she whispered. I shook my head. Me neither. She nodded, eyes shining, not crying. And then, very carefully, she rested her forehead against my shoulder. Just for a second, long enough to matter. We didn't talk about it right away. That felt important. We sat on the floor behind the counter because the chair felt too formal, too much like a decision. The shop lights buzzed faintly. Somewhere outside, a car alarm chirped and stopped. Ordinary sounds doing their job, keeping the world intact. She took her glasses off and set them beside her. Rubbed the bridge of her nose like she was tired of seeing too clearly. This isn't what I thought my life would look like, she said. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't have one, but because I didn't want to rush her into something that sounded like reassurance. Mine either, I said eventually. She smiled at that. Not sad, not relieved, just honest. I don't want to pretend this is a mistake, she said. But I also don't want to pretend it's simple. It's not, I said. We don't have to make it be. She looked at me then, head tilted slightly, like she was testing the weight of that sentence. Her knee touched mine. She didn't pull it back this time. I keep waiting for the part where this feels irresponsible, she said quietly. And? I asked. And it doesn't, she said. It just feels real. Which is worse, in some ways. I laughed under my breath. Yeah. She leaned back against the counter, eyes closed for a second. When she opened them again, something had settled. Not excitement. Acceptance. I can't give you promises, she said. I don't know how long I'll need to unlearn certain fears. I'm not asking for promises, I said. Just honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. She nodded. Especially then. We sat like that for a while. Our shoulders touched. The contact was light, almost accidental, but neither of us adjusted. I could feel her breathing slow, match mine without trying. After a minute, she reached for my hand. Didn't lace her fingers through it. Just rested her palm against mine, warm and steady. Her thumb brushed my knuckle once, absent-minded, like she was checking that I was still there. This doesn't erase anything, she said. What I lost. What you still have ahead of you. I know, I said. But it doesn't have to be compared either. No, I agreed. She leaned her head against my shoulder again. This time she stayed there. I felt the weight of it, the trust in the gesture. The quiet choice. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. The room felt full without it. After a while, she whispered, almost to herself, okay. It wasn't a promise. It wasn't a plan. Just the door opening enough for both of us to step forward when we were ready. I stayed still, hand in hers, and understood that this was the moment everything changed. Not loudly, not dramatically, but for good. I'm telling this from a distance now. Not far. Just enough to see it clearly. The shop is still there. The sign still flickers some mornings. She still forgets where she puts her glasses and finds them exactly where she left them. Nothing about her life turned into something dramatic. That's what I learned first. Real change doesn't announce itself. What changed was smaller. She lets the quiet stretch now without apologizing for it. She laughs more easily, but she also gets tired and says so instead of pushing through. Sometimes she reaches for my hand, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Sometimes she doesn't. Both feel honest. As for me, I stopped confusing intensity for meaning. I stopped thinking love had to rush or prove itself to be real. I learned how to wait without disappearing, how to stay without demanding. We never made speeches about the age difference. It shows up in practical ways instead. Different music tastes, different memories, different aches. None of it feels like a problem, just texture. There are still lines we pay attention to. We talk when something feels heavy. We stop when it needs stopping, not out of fear, but respect. That was new for both of us. The photo stays in the box. She took it out once, months later, and didn't cry. She just told me a story about her son I'd never heard. Then she put the box back and reached for me, grounding herself in the present without erasing the past. I don't feel like I replaced anyone, and she doesn't treat me like something fragile. That balance took time. It still does. If I've learned anything, it's this. Love doesn't always look like arrival. Sometimes it looks like staying. Like choosing the same quiet honesty over and over, even when no one's watching. We still sit on the floor behind the counter some evenings, shoulders touching, listening to the shop hum. The lights stay on now, but the darkness taught us something first. If this story made you feel something, let me know in the comments. Would you want more stories like this?